This conference will now be recorded.
Please be quiet and turn off the fan, please. Can you close that window, the back window? Thank you. And that should be okay now. So let's start with the cloud. And so cloud sessions, as we guys know, so we'll be having on weekends, Saturday and Sundays, and this is the time. So today we're going to discuss first, so the basic about cloud. So what is cloud first? Then we talk about different cloud providers, and before that we talk about types of cloud services. So, and then we're going to look into how to create account on AWS. And then, so we're going to create an instance on AWS. So this is our agenda for today. So the first thing, cloud. So I think we all know very well what is cloud. So because we have been working on cloud tools, especially we have GitHub, right? So we know GitHub is a cloud tool. And what are the advantages of going for cloud? So the basic advantages. So no, it's not open source. So cloud is not open source. Don't call it open source. So the first thing is global access. That's the first thing. And what is that? Securities. Okay. So yeah, maintenance. That's important. So very low maintenance. Yeah. So advantage. That's one advantage. So any issues online? I see people are going offline online. So if you have issues online, let me know. Thank you. But,
Why?
sorry.
Apart from that, I am good.
Sorry, I missed it. I'm sorry.
White background noise was coming before you started the class.
Yeah, in a classroom, so you might expect some background noise.
Okay,
So,
that's fine. No worries.
so these are the advantages. So basically, when you talk about cloud, these are the advantages. Now, but let's talk about the cloud services. What are the different types of cloud services? So when you talk about cloud, do we talk about only about storage, or can we create something else on cloud? So like we know when you talk about cloud, we talk about storing the data, we store the files, we access them globally. But is it only about storage? No. No. So when you talk about cloud, we can go with different types of services on cloud. Not only the storage service, apart from storage service, so you can create different other type of services on cloud. So what are they? Yes, you can create your infrastructure as a service. Also platform as a service, and then software as a service. So when you talk about infrastructure as a service, we talk about our servers, right? So we can create servers on cloud, and so let's say, for example, I need about some number of servers. I can create my whole infrastructure, all these 10 servers on cloud, right? Now, what do you mean by servers? Is it only like setting up our instance? So when you set up a server, you also need to set up something else for the servers. So what is that? You need some operating system and then hardware. Yes, the hardware requirements like hard disk and also memory. Anything else? OS, hardware. Apart from this, what else?
Network.
Okay, securities. Yeah. So securities, that means who can access those 10 servers? Who can access those 10 servers? Right? Well, that's another thing. Anything else? Networks, right? Yeah. Anything else? What is network? What is a network? What's network?
Connections.
Connections. Yes, connections. You can say how these servers are connected. So, and how their servers are interacting. That's what is a network. How they're communicating, right? That's what is a network. Yeah, fine. Anything else? So you're talking about infrastructure, you're talking about servers. What else you need when you talk about servers or infrastructure? High availability. What is high availability? Yeah. So no downtime. We are not expecting any downtimes. So and also backups and then restorations, right? So this is what you talk about your infrastructure. That is a basic definition of how you define your infrastructure: servers, their configurations, networks, securities, how they have been configured with high availability, all these concepts. Okay. So can we create our infrastructure also on cloud? That means, can I create my servers? Can I have OS, hardware, and all these kind of securities? Can it done on cloud? Yes. Okay. Then why do I go for cloud? When I can create all these servers, this infrastructure within my local organization, why would I go for cloud? Cost. Okay. Cost is the one reason. So why we need cloud? Okay. That's one reason. Maintenance. Okay.
We don't need to maintain.
Yeah. Maintenance, availability. So can't we do all these things on local? If I have all these servers, why can't I do them on local then? Global access. Time. Yeah. Global access. Correct. And then time. So these are the three factors actually. So what are they? Cost, access, time. So for example, I want to have about 3 servers or 4 servers. Then I want to set up this kind of infrastructure. Take about your virtual servers, let's say. So what do you mean by local servers means? I need about 3 virtual servers, virtual instances. Then what do? First of all, you open your VMware workstation and create instance, and then you install your OS, allocate some resources. All these things you need to do, right? So, but if you want to create your infrastructure on cloud, so you have these advantages. You can set up these servers within no time, within about 2 to 3 minutes. You can have your servers running, and with your required configurations, with my required configuration, whatever the hard disk, whatever the RAM. So that way I can save a lot of time. That's the first thing. Second is those servers I can access it globally, right? Then, so can I save the cost? Is it cost effective? What?
Yes.
Yeah, you don't need to purchase any hardware requirements physically, right? So that saves a lot of cost, and moreover, I can use these servers according to the time I need. I might need them about 1 month or 1 day or 1 week. especially, so when you talk about testers, okay, testers, they need some high configuration servers sometimes for testing purpose, right? In that case, so you can simply go to your cloud, AWS cloud or Azure cloud, whoever they are. So go to the cloud and then start creating your infrastructure ready to use those servers. And after 1 week, once it is used, you can start destroying them, or you can stop it. In that way, you can save a lot of cost. So the concept is very simple concept: renting, pay as you use. This is like, say, like if you postpaid kind of service. If you are using for 1 day or 1 hour, and then you pay for that particular time period you have used. Just like your your mobile services. So if you use it, you pay for it easily, right? That's a big advantage. And then maintenance. Tell me in what terms the maintenance is easier? In what terms? Say whether you have your servers locally or on cloud, you must have backup. You must provide securities or not. Then in what terms you say it's very low maintenance?
We do
So
not
when
need
you
to
have
maintain a team.
sorry.
We do not need to maintain a team to actually do any cost, any kind of administration or anything like that. It is all done on the background by the cloud
Yeah,
provider.
administration. Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. Less administration, but in what terms? That's what I mean.
I mean,
Maintenance. What
everything
terms?
everything maintenance is taken care by
See, simple.
AWS itself.
These 10 servers. Do I need some space to set it up? No. Do I need some rack spaces? Do I need some hard disk? So that kind of infrastructure is not required. I don't need any kind of wires, and then so internet connections. I don't need any kind of network connections. I don't need a big AC. I mean to make my room temperature. I know this. I don't need this kind of cost, right? That is what is. Yes. So these are the advantages we have if you go with create your infrastructure on cloud. Well, so in this case, who is that? Who is going to provide you that kind of service? So when you talk about storage as a service, storage on cloud, we are Google Cloud, right? The same way I want to create my infrastructure on cloud. Who is going to provide you? So we have providers. So who are those providers? So we have different types of providers. AWS, and then Azure. Also we have GCP, Google Cloud Platform. So these are major providers in the market. Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, also so Google Cloud Platform. So which one is leading the market? Why AWS? Why not Azure?
AWS and Azure.
Azure is cheaper, not AWS. Azure is cheaper. Even Azure provides more than AWS. Azure provides a lot of services. So see, once after Azure has come into the market, they've introduced some advanced concept. Now AWS has introduced those kind of services.
AWS maintenance is very good compared to Azure.
Yeah. In particular, there is no reason actually. Azure has more advantages than AWS. But the only thing is, it is the trust. So for example, I want to set up my infrastructure first. Let's say I need about 100 servers. Then I prefer AWS rather than Azure. What is the reason? The reason is AWS has been there in the market. And I know some people, those who have been using AWS. And so I know there are some advantages. This kind of trust, there is a trust. So based upon the trust, I select my provider. Azure is so new in the market. They are new in the market. So I might trust it, I might not trust them. So that is the reason AWS is leading the market. But very soon, AWS is leading the market, but very soon Azure is going to capture that market. Because Azure has many advantages. It is cheaper, that's the first thing. Azure has some advanced services. And Azure is more user friendly than AWS. Azure has some more advantages than AWS. But AWS has been in the market almost like 11 to 12 years. So they have come up into the market around 2009, and so still they are leading the market. They have about more than 51% of the market, and Azure is trying to capture the market. So with the services and with user friendly, with the cost, because it is from Microsoft, Azure is from Microsoft. That's the reason. But anyway, so for the time being, we're going to discuss about AWS, and so let's see how we can create our infrastructure, our servers on AWS. That is what we're going to try for today. And then, so AWS, Azure, or GCP, whether you compare any cloud, the concepts are same. Even some of the steps are same. So for example, I'm setting up a server. I want to set up some server. Let's say these 10 servers. What are the steps you follow? All the steps. So whether you create your servers locally, AWS platform, Azure platform, or any other platform, the concept is those are the basic things. So I need to provide some configurations, hardware, and then securities, networks, high availability concept. So it's all the same. So if you understand one platform, understanding other platform is very easy. Or if there is anyone you have experience towards network administration, so if you are an administrator, then understanding cloud is very, very easy because you already do this kind of infrastructure. You know how to set it up. So, but for example, I know very well how AWS works. But my company is going to start working with, let's say, Azure or GCP. So learning second platform is very similar, but you need to get a thorough idea with the first platform, first AWS platform, and learning or understanding the second platform is a very, very easy thing. Okay. So that's the reason in interviews, so they ask you what is your cloud platform and what are different services you are perfect with. And then you'll have questions. For example, let's say I'm going to attend an interview. So, but the interviewer has a requirement on GCP. But I know very well how AWS works, and I know even Azure, but I don't know anything about GCP. So the questions will be asked something related to the concepts oriented. So for example, you're going to ask me, can you just provide me an example? You have a server, and can you give me the steps how the server can be set up with high performance and high availability? Can you provide me the steps? So that is a scenario basis question. That's not a technical question, right? So what are the steps you follow? Tell me the steps, because all the steps you follow even in GCP, Azure, or AWS. But when you go into the view, look and feel, that might be different little bit, but almost like it's same. The terminologies are same. Because when you go to AWS, you call it servers, but so in terms of Azure or AWS, we call them instances. And locally, for example, I have an instance. This is my, what do you call them? These what kind of instances they are? These are virtual instance. When you go to AWS, they call it EC2 instance, right? So EC2 instance, we'll talk about it. But when you go to Azure, they call it still virtual machines. GCP, they call it virtual machines. The terms might be different, but it's all the same. Okay, but anyway, now that is what we're going to concentrate for today. How I can create my infrastructure and instance on AWS. But before we do that, let's see the steps how we create an AWS account first. And then we'll proceed with using AWS, how we can create an EC2 instance. We call it EC2. We'll get back to that point. But moving on to how we create an AWS account. So, is creating an account in AWS, is it for free? Yes, that's for free. Now this is the URL, aws.amazon.com, and then sign in. Click on sign in, and once you click on sign in the next page, you see you can create a new account. So let's create a new account. So you sign up for the account, and so this account we're going to create. So that is for free, but so this is a free account for 12 months. You can use your your account for 12 months, next 12 months without any cost. You don't need to pay for anything. Okay, well, so enter your email ID, some email ID, and then some password, and also confirm password and give some account name. So, and then click on the next step. So I can't create an account. I'm going to show you the screenshots. Just a second. So, this is what is your first page, creating an account. That's your first page. So in the past, they used to give some display on the page itself, 12 months account, but they are not giving any information over here. That is changed. That's okay. But your account is free for next 12 months. You can use it for free. Enter some basic details, email ID, password, and some account name. And in the next step, just your contact information means, so are you creating an account for personal or professional purpose? So, and then your full name, phone number, and country, address, city, state, and then your postcode. Just your personal details. Now, so now provide the right contact number. Don't provide the wrong number, because AWS is going to call you for the confirmation. That is the last step. Okay. So don't ask me that question. So what happens if I provide a wrong phone number? Because this question was asked. That's the reason. Okay. So provide the right contact number. Yeah. So postal code. Yeah, some basic details. And this is your payment information. So in the payment information, provide your bank account details, your card details, bank card details. And see, it does not mean that since you are providing your card details to the AWS, they're not going to deduct any amount from your account. No, but they charge you initially 2 rupees, was it? 2 rupees or 1 rupee? Don't know. Around 2 rupees, I guess. So 2 rupees they charge you initially. But those 2 rupees again credited back into your account after a few days. Okay. They just want to confirm that you are a genuine user. That's it. Okay. And so those were from US. I think they charge about $1. But so your bank details, like expiry date and then billing details, all these things, you know these things very well. Right. And then secure submit. Then comes phone verification. Again, you see that same phone number. You enter the same phone number which you have provided in the personal details. The same phone number will be popping up here. Okay. Right. So your country, region, then send, and then click on that. Call me, and you get a verification call from AWS. And you answer the call. And once you answer the call, then your account will be created successfully. Okay. So this is just, they are following this kind of procedure because they don't want any junk accounts, anonymous accounts on AWS. That is the reason. Okay. Right. So yeah, that's it. And this is the last step. So the plan type. So there are different plan types, 3 plan types. So one is for free, basic, developer plan, and then business plan. And for your practice, you can create a free account. This is for free, as you can see, and developer, and that is $29 per month per account. Okay. And in this account type, they provide some services which you cannot access in free. Those services you can access in developer services. There are some restricted services. And so if you go with business plan, you can access any kind of purpose. Now, in what cases I go for business purpose? In what cases I go for developer purpose? How do I decide at real time at my business plan? Now, so you defer it. For example, I'm using my infrastructure or my AWS account only for the developers part. That is not for production purpose. Okay. I'm not doing any application deployments on the production servers. I don't have any production servers with AWS. Then I can choose the developer plan. But I'm doing some deployments. I have my production servers, my production infrastructure even with AWS. Then this is almost like mandatory. For developers are testing, you can choose the second plan. So that would be enough for you. And then if you go with production deployments, you have production servers, you need business plan. Okay, but so that is if you go for production. Why is business plan is? Now you can see that that's a big advantage. For example, I have some issues. I have my servers instances created on AWS. Due to some reasons, I'm not able to access those instances. That happens sometimes. I'm trying to log into my instances, my servers, but it is not allowing me to do it. So I've checked everything from my side. There is nothing wrong from my side, but that is my production server. So you have some priority issues. Right. Then what do? You can straight away contact AWS support team. They provide you that support. Okay, so that's a big advantage. But so and they have also have 1 hour response time. So I have my servers, those servers have some issues, and I'm raising a ticket to AWS admin team. They resolve the issue within 1 hour. That's a response time. It's a response time, resolve time. That's response time only, not resolve time. It's a response time. So within 1 hour, they respond to your issue. That is not resolving issue, that's response time. So they may take any time to resolve it, but the response time is 1 hour. But if you go with developer plan, response time itself is 12 hours. That's why I use it for non-production purpose. Okay, make sure. And this is free, so you can contact. If that is a free, you can still contact. So AWS support team, but there is no guarantee. They may respond to your issue or they may not. Well, so what plan I'm going to select for practice purpose? So I select basic plan. Then if I select the basic plan, then can't I use all the services provided by AWS? I can still use it. I can still use it. But so they charge really high. The cost is really high. But if you go with developer or business, so it's cheaper. Why it is cheaper? You're paying them in advance, in upfront. You see that you're paying them almost $100 per month in advance itself. So you can use all the services. Okay, but you don't worry about these things. So you understand automatically by yourself in the future. Well, and finally, you just log into your account. That's your login screen. Even the login screen is changed. 1 second. Let me go to login screen. Just sign in. So I can't show you how to create an account. So because I have created my accounts number of times, almost like 25 to 30 times. I don't have those many cards with me. Say with one card you can create about 3 to 4 accounts. That's it. After that you cannot use the same card, your credit card or debit card. So you need to have multiple cards if you want to create number of accounts. So that's the reason I'm using my some other's account. Then this is your sign in window. And so see, previously they had something like sign in, but here you have this is something like which is newly introduced. That is for security reasons. We'll talk about IAM securities, but you log in to your account as a root user first. So who is a root user means you are the account owner. So you are the owner, you are the root user for your account. So root user and the username. Can I? Okay, so I think I can. So I can use it. Well, so, and password. Sign in. Database is very easy and more interesting. Okay. So now this is your AWS dashboard console, and so there you have AWS services. Click on the services. Then you have category of services. So you have number of categories according to, so for example, I want to create my instances. I want to create my infrastructure. You go with compute type of category. And I want to create some storage kind of services. Go with storage and database. And you have some migration purpose and you have network. So you based upon the services, you also have, you see that these are DevOps services, code commit, code build, code deploy. So you select it according to your category, means service type. Anyway, first, let's go with under compute, and the service name is EC2, virtual servers in the cloud. Even they call it virtual servers, but the name they have given to that service type is EC2, Elastic Cloud Compute. Now, why do you call it Elastic Cloud Compute? What do you mean by elastic? Yes. So that varies. You can change it, right? Elastic means you can change it. So your configurations, your instances, or instance configurations, you can change it anytime. That is what you mean by Elastic Cloud Compute. Anyway, first go with EC2. This is a service which is used to create your infrastructure on AWS cloud. But this is my EC2 dashboard. On this dashboard, so what do you understand from this? The first thing you look at here is, you see something like Mumbai, right? Okay, let me increase the font size. 1 second. So now there you see Mumbai. So what are they? They are called regions. So what are they? We call them regions. Now, so what are the regions? Regions are not data centers. Okay. Regions are not data centers. Now, so this is AWS, let's say. AWS. Now, for example, we have number of users. So there are about millions of users and they want to log into your AWS. And then, but the question is AWS can provide a good service if too many number of users are trying to access the same website same time, millions of users? Is it possible? Sorry? Yeah, there might be some latency, time delay. So there might be some performance issues. So that is the reason. So like if you talk about your Amazon shopping cart, right? So they have Amazon everywhere globally. But when you enter Amazon, why you log into Amazon India? Why not Amazon US? Why not UK? Because the nearest website, nearest region, so they are set up by default as my India, that's nearest region. When you try to enter, when you try to access your Amazon or any shopping cart, if they are globally, you will be redirected to the nearest region. Okay, so they have divided there, so AWS into different regions across the globe, so that you can access your different type of services from the nearest regions. Okay, so they have different regions. So that is AWS, and that's AWS Global. They also have AWS Global, but anyway, so AWS. And in AWS they have so regions again. Within that they have regions in somewhere in US, so they have in Europe, and they have in India, I mean Asia Pacific, so they have in Australia, so they are in somewhere in US, yeah, they have in Canada, I think so, yeah. Good. So there are different regions across the globe, right? Now within that regions, you see that I select my region as Mumbai. Then why do I select Mumbai? Can I select some other region, something like US East 1? Can I switch my regions? I can switch the regions, I can change it. So now it has been changed. Yes, You can change your regions, that's not a problem. But on the what basis I select my region? Nearest. Why nearest? Why not other regions? Distance. Okay. Yeah, nearest. I think I don't need synonyms. Okay. I want technical reasons. Yeah. Why we select Mumbai? Why can't not Virginia? Somewhere? Why not?
Latency.
Latency. Yes. So there is some latency. For example, I'm creating my instances somewhere in North Virginia. So US is one somewhere, but I'm trying to access that from India. Can we expect any time latency? There might be some, but it won't be like in minutes. Some fraction of seconds. Okay. So there is some time latency. Can we avoid that? We can do it, but that's different. So that's one point. How do you select your regions based upon the nearest zone? Why nearest zone? So the reason is latency. We can avoid the latency. And other reasons. Say, for example, my client is from US, and that client has users from that nearest region, US region. In that case, do I create those servers on Mumbai? So based upon the target audience. So my application, my client is somewhere in US. He has most of the target audience from US, or I have some application. So that target audience is from India. So I select my based upon the target audience. So who are the users? That is important for me. So that's the second point. And other point. Now, just scroll down. So these are what we call them. What are the availability zones? Now, availability zones are nothing but data centers. So what do you mean by data centers? Now you see how many availability zones we have over here. I think they have 6. Okay, 1A, 1B, and so on. They have up to 1F. So they have 6 availability zones within that US East 1. They have 6. Okay. Well, and what is the purpose of these availability zones? So it's not all about security. There is something else beyond security. Okay. Now, for example, I'm going with Mumbai. So how many availability zones they have? They have only 3. A, B, C, 1A, 1B, 1C. So in Mumbai, they have only 3. Now, can someone tell me what is a data center? Not number, yeah. So it is all about. So you are creating your infrastructure, right? So they are created somewhere in the background. So for example, you're uploading your data on Google Drive, but you access it. Okay, fine, that is fine. But that data must be saved somewhere in the background physically, right? So that is what is your physical data centers, where the data has been stored physically. That is what we call data centers, right? So when you, for example, as a user, I'm creating an instance. Let's say I'm a user. I log into my AWS account. I'm creating my EC2 instance and on some 1A zone. That's my 1A zone, and 1B and then 1C in Mumbai. Okay. And then there I create my instances. That is my EC2 instance. Okay. So I have created my EC2 instance that's under 1A zone of Mumbai. And then all of a sudden, because of some reasons, whatever the reasons, some nature calamities or some other reasons, natural disasters, and the whole region itself is crashed. Sorry, the availability zone itself is crashed. 1A zone is crashed. Then on that 1A zone, so do I have my data? Do I have my servers? Yes, I have my server. On that server, I have my application. I have my data. Then, can I access my instance now? Can I access my server? So, not possible. the whole availability zone is totally destroyed. Then how can you access your resources then? So that's why. So you have the concept of availability zones. If some availability zone is down, automatically you can access your same instance, same data from another availability zone. That is the meaning of availability. Okay. So do I need to worry about, do I need to do these things manually? See, I'm a user. I don't know what is happening in the background. So all these things taken care by the AWS provider. He is the provider. That is his responsibility to provide you high availability service. They take care of it. So that is the reason we are paying for that service, right? That's the meaning of pay service. So now, what if even this availability zone is down? You have another one. But what even that collapsed? They have something like global. Okay, so that is still be available, but there we can expect some downtime. Okay, so there might be some downtime, but that never happens. So that's, we cannot predict it, but that's okay. But so this is the meaning of availability zones. Now, how many availability zones Mumbai has? 3. And if you go with, so US East 1, and they have 6, right? Since US East 1 provides 6 availability zones, and if you change your region to US East 1 and you want to create your services or instances on US East 1, this is expensive. Since they are providing a service, they charge you with high amount. Okay. So, but if that is still, if you're, see, that all depends upon the client and what region you go with. For example, I'm your client. I'm going to ask you, can you set up a server for me? The next minute you're going to ask him is, what region? That's the first question. Because based upon the region, so you get bills. The cost varies. Remember this. Okay, don't pay whatever you want. Okay, don't do these things. But so see, these are some of the silly mistakes you do. I mean, everyone does it. I mean, but anyway, so now I'm going with Mumbai. So because it is cheaper, and you have number of regions across the globe. You can see that your number of regions. Okay, you're somewhere in Asia Pacific and Canada. Canada, yeah, they have central, and then they have somewhere in Australia, somewhere all over the globe. Well, so first let me change my region to Mumbai. Okay, another question. Now back to that picture. I'm a user. I have created my instance under Mumbai region. This instance, okay, this is my instance. What is the region is? Mumbai is the region. Can I access same instance from US region? No. Yes. Can I access that? So looking at the picture, you must be able to see. Can we do it? Is it? See, okay, you have about, let's say, and I have about 15 regions across the globe. Okay, well, so if you have 15 regions, now this is my Mumbai region, and there is my instance is running. I want to access it from somewhere in Australia or somewhere in Canada. Can I do it? Or somewhere in US? Yes. See, think in terms of millions. Don't think about yourself. Think in terms of millions of users. So they have millions of users on AWS. And for example, there are some users on US. So they have got some millions of users. And some of the users, they want to access it from somewhere in Asia Pacific. So something like in Tokyo, let's say. Can they do it? They want to access it from Mumbai. Can they do it? Why? So that is why we have regions. It's not possible. The region is nothing but, or availability zone is nothing but where you store your data, right? That is not possible. So, but there is a possibility you can do it, but you need to perform some different steps if I want to do it. So I want to access the same instance which is under Mumbai region. I want to access it in some other region. But you need to pay for it. That's first thing. That's all paid. That's not for free. And then there are some little bit different steps you need to follow. Then that will be available. But sorry, by default that is not available. Okay. Now first, let's go with now. Let's create an instance. Now I'm launching an instance and go with launch instance. So these are the steps you follow. There are about 7 steps you follow while you create your instance. These are the steps. Now, among that, the first step is, what is that? Select your AMI, Amazon Machine Image. What is an AMI? So this is nothing but OS. So you're creating an instance, but for my instance, I need some OS. So what is the OS? You select the OS. And which OS? Now. So we can see Amazon Linux, RHEL Linux, and they have they have Windows. Okay, and Windows they have different versions again. Server 2016 and SQL Server 2016. So they have Ubuntu and they have SUSE. So you can select it. So within just one click, you can select it. Okay, fine. But I'm trying to look for Control F. Let's go with CentOS. Can you see any results? No. So is it nothing but they don't have CentOS? They have CentOS. No. So search for in the search box, search for something like CentOS. When you search in the search box, and it is going to give you the CentOS AMIs. But those AMIs, searching, no. Okay. Now, look at the results. So there are about 433 results from where? AWS Marketplace. Now you can see that AWS Marketplace. AWS Marketplace. Click on here or click on this. Both are same. What is AWS Marketplace? The images you see. I mean, images means when I say OSs. Okay, AMIs. You can call them AMIs, images, or OSs. The AMIs you see on the marketplace, those are not for free. That's why we call them marketplace. Okay. The images, whatever you see from Quick Start, just cancel it. And these images are for free. Okay, most of them from the Quick Start, those are free images. But if you want to buy something or if you want to pay for the AMIs, you can go to marketplace or you can just type your image you are looking for. Okay. Then apart from this Quick Start and then marketplace, we can see something else called my AMIs. That means I can also create my own AMIs. Okay, I can create my own AMIs. That is also possible. We'll talk about these AMIs in the future, how to create our own customized AMIs. In what case we create our AMIs. We'll talk about that later. But first go with Quick Start. And then, so which one we go with? Shall we go with Red Hat? Okay, let's go with Red Hat. Even AWS has their own Linux. We call them Amazon Linux. Okay, but go with RHEL 8. Now select. So this is the second step. You select your instance type. So how do you select the instance type? We select the instance type based upon number of CPUs and then memory size. What is number of CPUs? Processors. So even you have that option when you create an EC2 instance, or if you go with your 8 virtual machine. Let's select it, and there you can see the processors. So number of processes. How many number of processes you like to have run on this instance? Select that, and that is the one case, and other thing is memory. So according to that, you select your instance type. But there is an instance type called, what is that? T2.micro, which is an instance type. So this instance type is free tier instance type. Sorry. So instance type is T2.micro. 1 second. Previous step. Just a second. Yeah. T2.micro. So what is the T2.micro instance is? This is an free tier eligible instance, or you can use this instance for next 750 hours for free, or else 12 months. So this T2.micro instance is a free tier instance. You can use it for free without paying any cost, and that is for 12 months or else 750 hours. So how the time is counted 750 hours? That is my instance running time. If I run my instance for 1 hour, and then from the 750 hours, 1 hour will be reduced. So that's why if you don't need the instances, make sure you stop the instances. There is a status called stop instance. So we'll see once it is created. Now, so if you don't need them, just stop them so that you can use your instances for free, either 12 months or 750 hours. Now, so you can do hands-on your practice with T2.micro instances. That's enough for us. Okay. Now select that instance type. But what is the CPU? Number of CPUs? 1. Memory is also like 1. Now we understand T2.micro instance type. Now I go back to the previous step. Again back to AMI. So what AMI I have selected? RHEL 8. Okay. Well, now I select some other image from marketplace. Let's see the difference. Okay. And which one? Go with CentOS. Go with that 435 results. So I select that CentOS. You see that, what is that? Free tier eligible. So what do you mean by free tier eligible? Now select it first. I'll explain. Now, so it says that this instance will be, this AMI will cost you something. Whether you want to proceed with that, yes, I like to proceed with that. Now select it. Then you can see your cost analyze. That is how much you get charged. Okay, so you see what is my AMI is. AMI is CentOS. Okay, fine. Is it free? That is free. See, that is a free. You see, are they charging anything? You can call it a software, you can call it AMI, you can call it OS, whatever you call it, that is for free. But they are charging us if you run this AMI, on instance. What is the instance? T2 dot, where is that micro? Yeah, second one, T2.micro. They charge you for the instance. See how they're charging us is, they're not charging for the AMI. But if you run that AMI on that instance, they charge you for that instance based upon number of hours you run it. So are they charging anything for the software, for the AMI? No. But they are charging according to the instance type. You see the instance type, according to the instance type, they are charging us. So you should be careful when you select your AMIs. If that is chargeable, it is going to give you something kind of a estimated cost. Okay. But for the previous AMI, RHEL 8, so was there any cost? No, right? There was no cost. Even though this is a free tier, but they're not charging anything for that RHEL 8. So even for the instance, okay, remember this. But now Go with next. So which one? Go with T2 dot micro. And so this is the most important step among all the 7 steps. So third one plus the 6th. So these are the most important things among, while you create your instance. Now, so what is the third step regarding? This is all about your networks. Okay, this is about your networks, how you create your networks, right? So what are the different types of networks? So you can go with some great networks, but I'm not going to discuss this right now. So if you want to discuss the networks, and we have a concept called VPC, Virtual Private Cloud. So this topic takes at least 2 to 3 hours, VPCs. Okay. So for the time being, you skip this point and you go with select your VPC as your default VPC. Anyway, by default, you have only one VPC, which is what we call default VPC. And in the future, for example, I'm creating different environments. I'm creating one for developers. I'm creating one for testers, one for pre-production, one for, let's say, production. In that case, you create your networks. Okay, good. So don't do anything, just let it be as it is. So don't touch anything here, just skip it. And this is your storage. So what is the storage? Anyone? What's the storage for? Permanent storage. When you say storage means this is your permanent storage, like a volumes, like hard disk you say. Yes. So block storage, EBS, we call it. Now, volume type. What is the volume type is? Root. So what is the root volume then? Root is a volume type, just like in Windows, we have C drive. So can we call it root volume? Yes. Why we call it root volume? Root is nothing but your volume where your OS will be running. So this is my volume, root volume, where your OS will be running. That is what we call a root volume. And then, so root volumes has some naming conventions. Device name, what is that? /dev/sda1. If you see any device with /dev/sda1, and that is your primary device, root device. So you call it primary device or root device. But how do you create secondary volumes? And what is the naming convention? We'll talk about this in the concept of EBS, Elastic Block Storage. So there we talk about all of them in clear way. But for the time being, you understand what is the root volume and name of the root volume. Okay. So that's one thing. And the default size, it is 10 gigabyte. That's a default size. Can we change the volume size? Yeah, we can change it. Why not? So you can change the volume size, I mean. And what is the default size is 10 gigabyte. But in the future, so I might need more volumes. Add volumes. You can keep adding volumes. You can do it right now, or else even you can create them after your instance is created. So let's say my instance is created, and after some days, now I have some messages, I have some notifications triggered through email saying that your instance is running out of the space. Then what do? Add volumes. How do you add it? But first of all, how do you get those notifications? So that's all comes under monitoring. We'll talk about monitoring. So, but you set up, see, today we are just only setting up instance. That's it. We are not going into that, all these things right now itself. So we'll be discussing clearly in detail. Come back to these points. So one by one, because for everything you discuss in these 7 points, there are different services itself. They have service called EBS. They have VPC service, and they have also security services. There are different services. Okay. We'll talk about all these things in terms of services in detail later. And other thing is, yeah, this is important for us now. Volume type. So what is a volume type? So we have different volume types, but what is the volume type is general purpose SSD. Why select the volume type? Now, so talk about this. What is that? What is IVOX means? how many inputs this volume can take and how many outputs it can process. Inputs, outputs per second. And how many it can does it? About 100. It can take 100 inputs and it can process about 100 inputs per second. But what is the maximum limit is? 3000. Can I change it? Can I change it? Do you have any options? No. So that iVox option changed automatically according to the size of the volume. What is the volume size is? 100. Now that is changed to 300 iVox. If I go with 1000, now it is maximum. So what is happening with general purpose SSD volume type? What is the volume type is? General purpose SSD. So iVox is changed according to the size of the volume. Okay. So I'm going with, let's say, 500 volume size. But what is iVox is 1500. But for 500 gigabyte, I want to have 3000 iVox. Is it possible? So my question is, can I change the iVox? Is it customizable? Can we customize it? Can we customize it now? That is automatically changed, right? iVox is automatically changed, right? Well, so, but I want to customize the iVox. Then you have volume type. What is the volume type is? Provision iVox. So if you want to customize iVox, and the option is the volume type is provision iVox. I can customize it. Now it is 25,000 iVox. Now I want to change it to about 30,000, but it's maximum 30,000 once 25,000. Yeah, 30,000. I can customize it. So now general purpose SSD. So general purpose SSD. iVox is not customized. And how about like in provisioned iVox? iVox can be customized. Well, and then we have magnetic. What is magnetic? No iVox. Now can someone tell me when we use magnetic? You understand what is iVox, right? So iVox means, so on that volume has some data saved. Let's say for example I have a database on that volume. So purpose of the database is storage, of course. Then what do you do on the database? Operations. You read and write operations, right? Okay. Now, so I'm doing a lot of read and write operations, input outputs operations. But so in that case, I go with provisioned iVox. Why? So number of operations I'm doing on the data is really high. So I go with provisioned iVox, and which is I have a choice of selecting the iVox. Okay. Then so I'm not using my iVox very frequently. So it's like I'm not using my data very frequently, but still I'm doing some operations, but that very rare. So very low operations. I can go with general purpose SSD. Now tell me when do you go for magnetic? Yeah, only for static kind of data. I'm not doing any operations on the data. I'm going with magnetic standard. You understand the differences? So that is an important question regarding volumes. These volumes are everywhere. Even when you create databases, when you create instances, you come across these volume types almost like everywhere. That's important. So that's important question. So what are the different volume types? And what are the differences? Plus, in what cases you go with general purpose? What cases you go with provisioned iVox? So you got the answers for these three. So volume types are general purpose SSD plus provisioned iVox and then magnetic. And we go with general purpose SSD in case you don't want to customize iVox. the IVOPS needs to be selected automatically. You have a data, but you're not doing too many operations on the data. You can go with general purpose SSD. Then provision IVOPS is customized IVOPS, especially for databases. I have large amount of databases. I'm doing too many write and read operations. I go with provision. Well, then again in general purpose we have two: GP2, general purpose 2 plus general purpose 3. Now, if you are you concentrating? Yes. Okay. Tell me the difference between GP2 versus GP3. Sorry. Can we customize IVOPS? In GP3, I can customize the IVOPS plus what is throughput? Response time. Yes. So response time. How much time it is taking to process that request? That's what is response time. Right. So that is 125 MB per second. That means it can process about 125 MB data per second. That is the capacity. Okay. So that is advantage of GP3. Now, so go with IO1. IO1 we have customized IVOPS, and then IO2. So when we use IO2, volumes greater than 32,000 requires Nitro instances. So you see that 64,000. Now if you go back to IO1, so what is the maximum you can go with this? I think 32,000. That's a maximum. But I have some instances, and those instances volume is processing too much data. Kind of, you can say, I can give you an example from my experience. So, these containers, the cold containers. You know these containers, cold containers, where so they store the data. They do it for container transportation. So in that container transportation, so every minute, so they check the container temperature. You know this? Did you ever see these containers, temperature maintained containers? Especially they use it for meat transportation. Okay. Yes. So those containers, they maintain the temperature of the container for every minute automatically, and the data is sent back to the servers, and the data is saved for every minute. And that way, so there is a leading container provider, Merck. So they have millions of containers, and there are millions of containers data. They save it for every minute, every container in the server. Just imagine how much data they are processing. In those kind of examples, we can go with, so we call them Nitro instances, 64,000 up to 64,000. So where you are processing the data, too much data you are processing, you can go for Nitro instance types. But these IO1, IO2, really expensive. For example, if they are charging me for this 500 gigabyte, okay, 500 gigabyte, right? So they're charging about, let's say, $10 per month. And for the same size, 500 gigabyte, so for IO1, they charge you about $100 at least. So the reason is, it is all about the IVOPS. So if that is not required, don't select that provisioned IVOPS. So if this is really you are using the volume for databases, you go with provision. Otherwise, you go with general purpose. Okay. So this is the one important question you can expect. So from this instance setup, but there will be questions on VPCs, of course. and then securities. But so since we have skipped that point, I'll give you the questions later, but this is the one question you can expect. So volume types, next. So tag is nothing but name of the instance, and the key name is a keyword. That's a keyword, standard name. So you can give some instance name. What shall we name? Let's say RHL instance 1. Okay. RHL 8, isn't it? Let's say RHL 8 instance 1. Go with next. Now, security. So what security stands for? See, once instance is created, somehow be able to find my instance IP address. See, how do you log into instances? Remotely. We need IPs or not? Something like you have virtual instances. How do you log into remotely? Using PuTTY, you need IP address. The same way, you know my instance IP address, and then are you able to log in? Are you able to do SSH? What is the type of protocol is? What is that type is? SSH. That means you can do secure login using SSH. Well, and the default port number is 22 and the custom. Source. What is source? Anywhere. Anyone who knows my IP address, plus if you have my private key. You remember the private key concept? We'll create that private key now. So you know my IP address, and also you have my private key. The same thing which I have it. I have my IP address, I have the private key. We both have the IPs, also we have private keys. Now who can log in then? Anyone can log in. That is what we mean by source, and the source is nothing but all zeros. What is that all zeros means? Anyone can log in from anywhere. Okay? Yeah, any questions online? Okay. So now that's anywhere. But what if I go with my IP? Source is my IP. Only? What is that IP? Is it my instance IP?
System IP.
Which system? So did we create EC2 instance yet? Did we create EC2 instance yet? That's in the last step. We have not created EC2 instance yet. Then what is my IP? That's your physical server IP. So this is my Windows, right? Physical server. That's the IP address. How do you get the IP address? You can just Google it if you want. What is that? What's my public IP? What's my IP? Now that's my instance. So that's my physical server public IP address. That same public IP address I see over here. Okay, who can log in then? Only I can log in. And what is my IP? That's what is my IP. Okay, understand it? Well, now going with custom. Now what is custom? They can see that, right? Understand it? CIDR IP address. What is that CIDR? CIDR IP. I want to restrict some users from so and so IP to so and so IP. We can do it. That is what we call CIDR blocks. All these concepts I will be covering in VPCs. But anyway, so CIDR block looks something like this. Something like this. 16 does not work. 16 we can go with 16, yeah. And then dot 1, sorry, 254, 251 only, 251 /16. So what does it mean? 10.0.0.1, and from that IP range to 10.0.0.251. So users from this IP range can do only SSH onto this instance. There is an IP range. So we call them CIDR blocks, CIDR blocks. Okay. So don't worry about these things. I know it's just too early to discuss all these things. And for time being, you can go with anywhere or my IP. So go with anywhere first. Now, so but anyway, it's not recommended. That's not recommended. So go with next. And review all the steps, the security groups and all these settings. Now launch it. So let's launch it. There you have options. I want to create a new key pair and give some key pair name RHL8 instance 1. That's my key pair. Download the key pair. Now what is the file type? .pem. Pem means, what is .pem file?
Private key.
Private key. See how long it's been we have discussed Linux? Not even 10 days, 1 week. You remember SSH key concepts? Yes. When you generate a key, two keys are generated. What are they? Public and private key. Public key, private key. Well, so now just instance, launch instance. That is my instance. It is being launched. Okay. So look at instance status is status check. Okay, status is pending. It's creating instance. So then let's log into the instance with the help of IP address, right? Where is IP address? You can see the IP, public IP. That's a public. Take a private IP. See, all the instances have both type of IPs. One is public, other one is. Don't use private IPs. Private IP is used for the network purpose, not for it at this point. Now go with public IP, and then how do you log in? Remote login, right? Let's go with PuTTY IP address. And what else is required?
You have to give the public private key, sir.
Yeah, we need a key. So how are you going to select the key? Are we going to select the private key? Does PuTTY accept the private key? See, PuTTY does not accept the private key. So PuTTY accepts your key name, or PuTTY accepts, let's say, .ppk. What is the .ppk means? PuTTY private key. PuTTY accepts PuTTY private key. But what is the key type we have? It is a PEM file, right? So we have .pem file. Now let's convert .pem into .ppk, because PuTTY does not understand PEM types. PuTTY accepts only PPK types. Now, so how do you convert .pem to .ppk?
PuTTY key gen.
Yes, PuTTY gen. Let's go with that. So .ppk, right? .ppk. Now, so go with PuTTY gen. I think you have installed PuTTY already, right?
Yes, sir.
I think when you install PuTTY, automatically PuTTY gen also is installed. If not installed, you can just download that PuTTY gen, or you can use the Google Drive to download it. Go with so PuTTY gen. So PuTTY gen. PuTTY gen is again something like PuTTY. So you see that that's PuTTY again, and you download the PuTTY, and automatically even PuTTY gen is installed. Well, let's use the PuTTY gen. PuTTY gen, and then load the key. So what was the key? Now select all files. That is RHL instance1.pem file. Okay, select that. Okay. Now I'm going to save as private key. What private key? PuTTY private key. Okay, let's save it. And so give some name. Let's say RHL See, whether you mention this .ppk or not, that's not mandatory. Okay. So .ppk, you provide ppk or not, that's not required. Why? Because we are saving the file type. What is the file type is .ppk. The file will be saved as .ppk. But why I'm giving that extension? So that I can understand in the future. This is a ppk file. Okay. Right. So save it. Now that is created successfully. Now back to my instance status. Instance status is successfully running status. Now, just a second, refresh. Let me refresh this. Just refresh. Now this is ready. So then putty. And what's next? Under connections. And then SSH. Select the authentication key, browse for the key, private key. Which one? That's our PPK. Fine. Select the PPK, open. Now confirm, but let me change these font settings. Now change settings, click on it, and then appearance and colors. And also you can go with connection. If you set connection is 1, your instance won't be terminated even if you keep your putty idle for some time. Otherwise, if you don't set it as 1, if you keep your putty as an idle, you're not using it for the time for some time, then the session will be terminated. Well, set it 1. Now log in. How I'm going to log in? Can I enter something, whatever I want, the username? No. Now, the username is EC2-user. Why that user? Why not some other user?
That is the standard one.
There are some default usernames. If you want to log into your instances, the default login users. Now, so what are the default login users? These default login users changes according to the OS or AMI. So what is our AMI? RHEL, right? What was the AMI? RHEL. So if it was RHEL 7 or RHEL 8, see, AWS does not have RHEL 6. They have RHEL 7, RHEL 8, and the username is EC2-user. These are default usernames. Or you can use root. You can also use root. And then, so for Ubuntu, all the Ubuntus, Ubuntu 16, 17 to 20, which 20 is the latest for Ubuntu. So, and the username is Ubuntu. And even the first one, that is also for CentOS. So CentOS, that's for the first one. And what else we have for Windows? Windows, the username is administrator. Administrator. So administrator, Windows. And for SUSE, one second. I don't remember that because we don't use those things. Or you can just Google it. AWS default user logins, usernames. Because these are the most frequently ones we use it. Yeah, CentOS. Oh, is it for CentOS? CentOS. I'm sorry. So CentOS, it's different. Sorry. CentOS, that's CentOS. CentOS. Yeah. And so for what is SUSE, right? SUSE is same. Yeah, SUSE is same. I'm sorry. Yeah, SUSE is same. EC2 icon user. Even for Amazon Linux, I think it's same. Where you see the Amazon Linux. Yeah, Amazon Linux is also EC2 user. But that if you use Fedora, but we don't use it. If you want, you can say this. So these are different users and default users. Apart from these users, if you want to log in as some other user, that's not possible because those PEM files are generated for those users only, not for the users. Okay, but are we logged in? Yes, we are in. There it is. Now you want to switch to super user now. Sudo su switch to super user. Now I'm a root user. Then you like to install something, yum install, git. Now those who haven't practiced yum commands, you can easily practice now. Yum install. So you're installing you're running your yum commands, right? So are we clear about this? Understand the steps. Now from today's session, the important points are the questions you can expect is one question, actually two questions. The first question is volume types. That's a very important question. That's very, very important because the volumes are in different other services you come across. So you go to RDS and you go to some Beanstack, wherever you go, you come across this volume types. These are important. And that's one question, different volume types. The second question is, but that's a silly question. So regions versus availability zones. So, or else what regions mostly you have been working with, or what are the differences you have come across? Right. So these are just a couple of questions, but the first question was important. Second question is okay, it's not so important. But now for today, we just try with. I will be sharing this document, scenarios document. Yeah. So what you can try, I'll upload this document. Well, just try for today, try this, that's it. And create a T2.micro instance with RHEL 8 plus Ubuntu 16, 17, 18, whatever you like. So try this. Okay, good. That's your simple practice for today. And in tomorrow's session, we'll be going through SSH concepts, security groups. Okay, we'll discuss some of the points regarding EC2 instances in tomorrow's session. So I can continue, still we have time, but I see some people. Why are you feeling sleepy? I see some faces. Huh? No, but fine, not a problem. So let's stop it. We'll continue in tomorrow's session. Thank you. Any questions?